Hey there, Fellowship family. Welcome to your one-stop shop for all things church life. My name is Mark Francis, and I am once again your host for today. Well, Merry Christmas, everyone, as we are launching this episode of our Fellowship Family podcast channel. It is Christmas, and hopefully you guys had an entirely spectacular, good Christmas Eve yesterday. I know here at FBC, we had 6 services, and they were incredible. And I want to just get a chance to share another family here at Fellowship Bible Church with you and hear some of their Christmas traditions and Christmas stories. I have with me Brian and Karen Newlin. How are you guys?
We're great, Mark. How you doing today?
I'm incredible.
Wonderful.
It's a good day. You know, this is interesting because we normally record podcasts during the middle of the week. I'm with you guys a little bit earlier. We're not going to just disclose what day and what time it is. Just
yeah, super secret.
Super secret. And, but it's exciting to have you guys here. Thank you for meeting me in the podcast booth.
Yeah, well, it's great to be here, and we appreciate the invitation.
Yeah.
And have enjoyed all of the previous family podcasts that you've done so far. And
a lot to live up to. No pressure.
It is.
No pressure.
Absolutely.
So we have, just as you've been referencing, at least these last 2 weeks, we have had a couple different families come on. We had the Lukens and we had the Joneses. They got a chance to share some of their traditions. But, even here in this season of FBC, the theme Humble King resonates. And I'd love to get your all's perspective, but we got to get to know you first. So I'll turn it over to you guys. Just kind of share, first of all, who you are, where you're from, how long you've been to FBC, why you're here. Just unpack it all for me. So I'll turn it over to you guys.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks, Mark. So, yeah, I'm Brian. I am a local to the Winchester, Frederick County area. I grew up in Frederick County, not far from here, about a mile from Jameswood High School. My folks still live there. I grew up going to church. I was big into music in high school and college. College is where I met my beautiful wife.
All right, we've got to hear that story now. Okay, so
all right,
I'll just jump right in. So, which college did you go to?
All right, so we went to Shepherd University. We're actually the first graduating class from Shepherd University.
College.
When we began, it was Shepherd College. They made the flip, and so we're technically the first class from Shepherd University.
Cool.
But yeah, it was around this time of year when we began we called it talking back then. You might call it a courtship. I don't really know.
Dating. I don't know.
The abridged version is we lived in the same dorm. Over Thanksgiving break, I was with my dad at the Apple Blossom Mall when people still went to the mall.
Yep.
And I saw Karen, and I recognized her from the dorm, but it was that weird dichotomy of this girl that I recognized from college, but I'm back home in Winchester. And so I kind of gave her a funny look, and I said, "You live in my dorm, right?"
You can't cross those worlds, right?
Yeah. It's worlds colliding, absolutely. So, I get back and my dad's, he's like, "Hey, Brian's over here at the mall saying hi to all these pretty girls." And, we get back to school. Eventually I get enough sense to call her up and we got to lunch and hang out a little bit. And we've been hanging out ever since.
So that's your version of the story. Okay. So Karen, what's your version of the story?
It's the same.
Oh, come on.
There's no big, yes, it was over Thanksgiving break that we kind of noted each other. And then I think that it took a little while. He said, finally called me. It took probably about a month or so before he tracked me down. And it was really actually over Christmas break that we really started hanging out. And once we started hanging out, that was it. That was all she wrote.
Fun Christmas memories. Yeah. There you go. That adds to the story. So what town are you from?
I'm from Charlestown, so just a hop, skip, and a jump right into West Virginia. So I grew up there, and I never really left. I'm married a Winchester boy.
And here you are.
Just stuck around.
That's cool.
Yeah. And, the transition into Fellowship Bible Church. So I've actually known about FBC most of my life. Like you said, my last name is Newlin, so there's, my uncle is an elder here. My cousin is here. I've got a number of aunts. Just quite a large segment of my family is here at FBC. So I've heard about it for many, many years. We moved, so we got married and lived in West Virginia. kind of splitting our lives. I worked here in Winchester. Karen worked in Carneysville, which was 25 minutes away. We went to a church which was 25 minutes away in West Virginia. So we decided we need to really kind of consolidate and centralize our life. And so we moved back into the Frederick County area, and we started church hunting, which is very, very stressful when you're looking for a new church. And I kind of had it in my mind, I'm not going to go to FBC because my family is there. We want to pick a church that is biblically focused, where we can grow and use our gifts. So we
actually put FBC last on our list for that very purpose.
Yeah.
Because the church that we went to prior to that was where I grew up. And so there was this sense of it was never really our church. It was my church and my family's church, and Brian started coming because
they were welcoming to me for sure.
Yes, of course. And so we wanted to find something that was going to be our church that we.
So we tried a couple different churches. We got we tried FBC. We got plugged into the teaching, and we would just kind of walk away. And like that teaching was incredible. It was just not something that we had heard before.
Absolutely.
So that's how we ended up getting plugged in here, and we started doing a community group, and that was I'm going to say 2015, 2014. I don't know. It was a bunch of years ago. I have it in my notes.
Doing the math. What?
Yeah. I guess it was 2014 is when we started coming here.
About a year after we started coming.
Yeah. So then we got into community groups, and then Karen got into doing worship ministry stuff, and then I was able to hop into doing worship ministry stuff, and so that's really what we've spent a lot of time doing.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that. If you guys are watching online, you'll get a chance to maybe recognize Brian. You're playing drums, so you're a little further away. Karen, you sing, you play piano, and it's awesome to have you guys part of the church's ministry in that capacity. But I'm curious, because this is Christmas, and we have had this season of just sharing stories. What are some of the fun things growing up that you guys remember as kids that you look back and you're like, oh, those were cool memories?
Yeah. Go ahead.
You want me to start?
Yeah. You start this time.
I was thinking about that question, and a couple things popped in my head. First off, Christmas Eve. That's always, for my family, with Christmas Eve, we were always at church, and we were always involved. My mom played piano. My sister was the choir director. And so we were always involved with Christmas Eve, whether it was music or drama. They always did these productions with the choir and drama and stuff. And I like to get in on that. And so there was always just this big excitement about the whole season, just kind of prepping for that and getting ready. And, so always having that sort of at the center. And I always loved that and grew up with that my whole life. So that would be number one. Number two, I kept going back to the Christmas parade. And it's so funny because my parents actually didn't like Christmas parades or parades in general.
Yeah.
We always ended up at the Christmas parades because my sisters were in marching band. I ended up being in marching band. I think I did 4-H for a couple of years, and we always had to be in the Christmas parade. So growing up in Charlestown, what parade did you go to? The Christmas parade in Charlestown. Okay. It was always on a Saturday afternoon. It was kind of, just right in the middle of the day, and it was always cold. It was great. I just really remember it, and it was always just a really great time. So that's everyone's probably memories of any parade, at least for Christmas time. Cold marching bands. Yeah. How do you play in the cold? I don't know how we Santa did Claus. We did. Yeah. Right. Right. Brian, how about you? What kind of fun memories, traditions do you have? Yeah, we, our household at Christmas was always full of lights, full of baked goods. We would do the Christmas Eve service. We would, go over to friends' house, and our Christmas Day was always just packed full of family and friends. Probably the most notable tradition that we had in the Christmas season, we always look forward to this, was my dad was an English major and just a wordsmith of sorts. And so every Christmas from the time I was really young, he would compose these scavenger hunts and these poems. And so, for our big gift for the year, he would send us on a scavenger hunt all around the house and, in the basement and the garage and sometimes outside, which was a lot of fun. So it's been cool. We've been able to pass that tradition on. We do that with our daughter. Maybe we should have mentioned that. We have a 10-year-old daughter. We not talk about ourselves and our kids. I'll get to there. That's okay. You don't have to worry. Yeah, I'll ask.
But you have a daughter.
Yeah, we do have a daughter.
What's her name?
Her name is Claire.
Okay. And so how do you incorporate this scavenger hunt?
Yeah, so I've kind of carried the mantle on. So she's been doing scavenger hunts even since before she could read. I printed out some pictures, and so she would see, okay, well, this is the basement, so we go to the basement. And my older brother lives down in Richmond and does the same with his kids. So
cool.
It's been really
when do you do that? Is that all throughout the entire Christmas season, or is it a specific day?
On Christmas morning.
On Christmas. So in the Newlin house right now, as this podcast is being released, we can expect that scavenger hunts are going on.
Running around. It may be outside. The animals hate it because they need to follow us around. But yeah, there will be a scavenger hunt, and I need to start writing it.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Let's not give out your address, because then everybody in the church will come and find, want to participate. What's the prize at the end of the scavenger hunt?
Oh, should we do it?
Well, since this is released on Christmas.
It doesn't have to be the one you'll release now, but is there a common prize that typically?
No, it's whatever kind of the gift is. Like when you ask Claire, like, what do you want for Christmas? The thing she says, that typically is it. But we always play dumb. Like, we open the gifts and we're like, oh, wait, there's one more gift here. Or look in your stocking, or look, it's just one of those, and she knows it's coming now.
So what was the best prize for you growing up then? Did you ever win?
Well, it wasn't a contest.
It's not a contest.
Yeah, you just read the poem.
Okay.
But a couple of notable things. There was a bike in a bathtub. So my year, I got a big bike. It was in the bathtub with the curtain closed. And I remember when I got there, I had maybe TMI for a family podcast. I had already gone to the restroom in that morning, and I opened the curtain. I was like, I was just here, and there was my gift was in the bathtub. It was fun. And then another great one was I call it the burping keyboard.
The Casio keyboard, you know this.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. You
Classic.
could record a little sample,
Yep.
and so you could play a little 8-9-year-old boy, I would burp. In fact, that gift was inspired because my older cousin, Michael Newlin, who goes here, had one, and I was really envious of that.
Jealous of Michael. Okay,
Yeah.
shout out to you, Michael. And come find Brian, and you can get your keyboard back.
Yeah, burp keyboard.
So you kind of already hinted at this, but as you now have a family, and you have Claire, your 10-year-old daughter, you have certain family traditions that you're passing on with a scavenger hunt and maybe a few other things. But what are you guys doing as a family now that you're kind of instilling as kind of making it your own?
Yeah. Do you want to talk? No? All right.
No, I don't care. Well, one of the things I used to do a lot as a kid, too, was I used to spend a lot of time baking. And that was just a big deal to me. I would bake for the fair, and Christmas time was another really big one. And so I wanted to make sure that Claire and I had an opportunity to kind of learn those skills together. I don't know all of the homemaker skills like sewing and all that, but I can instill a little bit into Claire by helping her bake and learn how to do those kinds of things. So that's one of those things that's really important to me. We actually spent some time just the other day to do some baking, and we have some more to do. So that was one for me. And
having snow and kind of a snow day kind of helps.
Yes, right.
Being
That
in the
was
house
fantastic.
and baking.
That's not always in December, so that was nice.
Yeah.
And going to get a Christmas tree is another thing that's been really, really fun for us. Usually the day after Thanksgiving or soon thereafter, we'll all get together and pile in the truck and go cut down a Christmas tree. And I don't know, there's something special about that. And then often we'll come back and have Thanksgiving leftovers soon thereafter as well. And then in recent years, we've incorporated some athletics into our tradition of going on a bike ride or a hike or something like that, which is which is really good. Yeah,
you mentioned just kind of spending time with Claire, being together as a family, kind of turning a little bit more into kind of the spiritual world. Like, what do you guys? What kind of not necessarily traditions, but what are you guys doing as a family to kind of bring it home to the season and reason for Christmas?
Yeah, it's. I was thinking about that a lot. We certainly have done, the Advent calendars and the resources that FBC has provided. There was a couple of years ago, there was an Advent book, and we've been through that. And Karen and Claire made the Advent wreath together, so that's been really nice, and that's always the centerpiece on our table. I really wish we could be the family that says, well, every year we gather and we read the Bible story, and we every night we sit down and have hot. that's just not
that's not really anybody anymore.
Yeah.
That's okay. Don't feel bad.
Forgive my my candor, but we absolutely though we just try and normalize our conversations about Christ through the season. If Karen and I are reading a passage or we kind of stumble on something that we think is new, we'll just talk about it at the dinner table. If we maybe see somebody struggling, we'll pray for them. We just are trying to make it normal. Normal to have a conversation about Christ, and we certainly haven't emphasized like Santa Claus or anything like that, but we just want to make it a part of our normal daily conversation. Maybe not lock it into like this is the time that we're going to do it, because we've tried to set up those standards and those habits, and for us, what we found is.
I get really legalistic about it. I mean,
Yeah.
for me personally, that's the habit that I can fall into. If we set these really like strict, like on Monday nights, we're going to be doing this, then it becomes like, then on Monday night, we have to do that. Like we can't not do that or
Yeah.
So
then that's not grace filled, and that's not fun. And then it turns stressful, and she was probably not going to learn a lot if the parents are forcing, this on her.
Yeah. So
is there any kind of key verses that have come to mind, or just maybe even a story or two of his past couple of weeks or this season of Christmas right now that you guys are like, oh wow, that was a really cool moment as a family?
I've kind of been focusing in on Hebrews 12, 1 through 3. And this is coming off of the kind of the Faith Hall of Fame. And it says, therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. So that idea of joy has been kind of resonating with me this Christmas season. I mean, it's 2020. Everybody is exhausted from 2020.
Yep.
And so, I've had to really look for places to find that joy. And, here Christ is, the cross is before him. He knows what is coming, but he looked past that and at the joy of sort of the glory of God. And if Christ knows what's coming and the pain, and he deserved none of it, we were the ones that deserved it.
Yeah.
How I should certainly humble myself to know, okay, 2020 was bad, but it wasn't like there have been a lot worse times. So to just kind of reflect on all of the blessings that we have, I mean, for me, it just brings so much joy. And the warmth of the season, the cocoa and the fire and the tree and the family and all of that stuff really coalesces and just makes it a really wonderful time of year.
But that's a neat correlating passage to where we've been as a church each season, each week of Advent of Philippians 2, where he humbled himself even to the point of death on the cross. You don't think of these passages, this Hebrews passage that you're reading, or this passage as a Christmas passage, but here we are looking to Christ humbling himself. And at FBC, we're in this season of really focusing and reflecting on him being a humble king. And I think the word humble is really the one that's standing out to me in this season. We heard the Lucans the last couple weeks ago where Mike just eloquently shared how in this season of chaos, and you said this season of a pandemic and this season of political unrest and everything that goes with it, people have a tendency to look inward and be self-focused. And here, that passage that you read, the Philippians passage, and even from this past Sunday, we read 1 Peter 2, you've been called for this purpose because Christ also suffered for you, leaving you as an example, and then going down the path of what he did. And that is humility. And as we're in this season of mask wearing or no mask wearing, and having the elders announce, hey, we still need to have a call to graciousness and a call to, humility and a call to look towards one another more highly than yourselves. And that's critical in a Christmas pandemic.
Christmas yeah, absolutely.
And I love how that's speaking to you. What kind of has been resonating with you from that humble king theme? I mean, beyond that passage, is there anything that kind of is resonating with either of you guys during this during this past season?
Well, I mean, I'll just share what has been kind of on my heart. I've been doing a study, My Utmost for His Highest. I really like this book, and it's just daily stuff, and I've included in my morning studies. But one thing that Brian and I have been talking a lot about this, I'd say over the past month or so, is authenticity and being authentic and what that looks like, and how that is for us as Christians in dealing with other people and even other Christians and family, and the list goes on and on. And I came across this, it's actually 2 different days, but where it discusses individuality and personality, and specifically the verse that really just sticks out is Matthew 16:24. And it says, "Then Jesus said to his disciples, 'If anyone wants to follow after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me.'" And it's this idea that individuality it says here, is all elbows, and it separates and isolates.
Yeah,
where
right.
personality is this, is being one with Christ and really emptying ourselves as Christ did. And it's that, coupled with what Dennis said a couple weeks ago in his sermon, just saying that in our sphere of influence and in our circle of people, our job is to just point them to Christ. And that's it. Like, we don't we don't make the rules. We don't dictate how people are supposed to be and what they're supposed to do, but we're just supposed to point to Christ. And that's so encouraging to me, because I do have this tendency to kind of fall into this legalism and just, the guilt that comes with that. And so, when I have someone on my heart and there's this this weight of that, I've been praying a lot for some specific people over the past month, and God has just really encouraged me with just that little bit. And it's something that I think, we always know. Of course, we're supposed to point people to Christ. Of course, that's where life change happens, right? It's not sharing our specific experiences, and it's not that God can't use those to encourage other people, but it's really Christ that is the game changer, right?
Yeah.
And so that's been really on my heart and mind this month, and just the idea of that denying ourselves and remaining humble and remembering that everything that we're doing in our lives is to really bring glory to Christ. And that is just a constant, like, I have to remind myself that that's what we're doing. In the busyness, the hecticness of this season, where I am so guilty of that. Like, I will get into it and ask him. I get all, like, frazzled. We got to bake the cookies. We got to do this. We got to have
here's the checklist. Let's get.
Where's the movie? Yeah. Where's the Christmas movie? We got to do all those things, because if we don't do it, is it really Christmas? Well,
but it's so good, because even all of these passages are intertwining amongst themselves of looking at others more highly than yourself, denying yourself, pointing people to Christ. He's the answer. And that sermon that you're referencing with Dennis of the Good Shepherd, and he's the gate. He's the door. And to if you're the shepherd, you're pointing sheep, you're pointing people towards that door. You're not the answer yourself. You're just getting them to the answer.
Exactly.
Christ is the answer. And all of these themes are why he came. And in this sermon series of In His Own Words, why did Christ come? That's resonating with me of, he's telling us why he came. He's explaining it to us. He's the good shepherd. He's the life. He's here to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. I mean, so many different passages where he's speaking to that is just incredible encouragement. And I thank you guys just for being an example. Again, nobody's perfect. I'm not propping you guys up, but just it's a call for each one of us to say, how can we get into God's word? And not just the Christmas season, but every season of our life, to say, where is God pointing me now? And how can I make him great and have me be less. And that's what I'm hearing out of what you guys are saying.
I think one of the things that we try and do is to be forgettable. And I think about it, playing drums, doing worship team stuff. I want to be the most forgettable person in the world.
Don't stand out. No drum solos, please. Yeah.
Well, the worship leader is the one who was trying to. But whether you mess up or something like that, kind of makes somebody go, oh, it sort of distracts them. So, I hope humbleness is being forgettable, is giving God the glory, is just taking ourselves out of the equation. And I think, humbleness. You didn't ask a question. I'm going to go ahead and
fire away.
But humbleness is rightly viewing ourselves and our position in Christ, and having kind of that confidence, even though we're subject to kind of the worldly. I said worldly groanings. Well, Mark calls them sin suits. Isn't that what he says that we live in? So we're not separated from God, even though we should be. So just acknowledging that and the grace that God gives is, I don't know, it's awesome.
And all the juxtaposition, if that's a word that I'd like, I mean, that's my word of the day maybe, but just how Christ is humble, but he's still the king.
Right.
That there's that contrast, and we can still sing Christmas carols and declare him to be king, and yet he's in a manger, and there's this cross, and there's this servant attitude of him. And what an amazing time it will be when he comes back, and we can all rejoice and celebrate together with the second coming. And that's, I'm sure plenty of us now watching and listening are longing for that with the way the world is going right now. But you know what? Until he does come, you're right, we're to display his glory. And so you guys, I really appreciate you being here. It's encouraging and special to just have people in the congregation just come share their stories and just what is God doing in your lives today. And we got a chance to hear that. So for all of you guys watching and listening online, continue to hunt us down. There's YouTube, there's Apple Podcasts, there's Spotify, whichever options that you are listening and watching to us, just keep giving us your feedback because we encourage that. And you guys, any final thoughts? I mean, you don't have to have any, but just figured I'd throw it out there.
Just Merry Christmas.
Right. Yeah.
Enjoy the day. I hope it's calm. For us this year, it's going to be much calmer. In a normal year, we have like 5 different spots we have to go to. Yeah. This year we have 2. So
that's impressive.
We're really excited about just being calm and present. And
that's where we are today as my family. I mean, it's just the 4 of us in our house, and that is it. And we'll make phone calls and FaceTime family, but just enjoy the simplicity of the season right now.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
And so again, keep your eyes out there for continuing episodes and keep watching the Sermon Spotlight. Even this past week, Mark Carey referenced the Global Church podcast that's out there. So see all the things here at FBC. Continue to watch, learn, and grow in your own journey. And thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Until we do chat again, let's have Christ be the focus of our lives each and every day.